This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hello and welcome to HealthLink, a program connecting home, community, and healthcare. My name is Carol Merton, and I'm delighted to welcome as a guest today Brandi Gowan, who is here to talk about the Women's Center and also to talk about International Women's Day and what's planned for International Women's Day. Brandi, thank you very much for being here today. I'm delighted to have you as a guest.
Thank you for having me, Carol. I'm so appreciative to be able to share some of our services and a little bit about International Women's Day with you today.
Wonderful. Can you tell me a little bit about you, your role, and also then about the Women's Center and the role of the Women's Center?
Perfect. Yeah. So what I am at the Women's Center is a MERAC coordinator, and a MERAC is a multi-agency risk assessment conference, which is actually a community response for those women and victims that are experiencing high risk intimate partner violence. So what we do is we coordinate a response with multiple partners in the community to help support the woman and those that are at high risk. So that's my role at the Women's Center here in Owen Sound. And again, we have a ton of other services that are available to women in our community, and especially during this time with the COVID pandemic. Tons of services that I really would like women to know that they are available and we are here to support them.
Can you just describe those services? I know we're going to focus on International Women's Day, but I think it's really important that we talk about services that are available to women and how they access the services, what they should do, because we want to get the message out there to women who might be listening in.
Great. Thank you, Carol. Yeah, so we do have an emergency shelter for women in Owen Sound. But also we have crisis lines and crisis text lines for women to reach out to if they're needing some extra support. So during the COVID pandemic, we recognize that sometimes home isn't a safe space for everyone, and it may be harder to reach out to those in the community. So we do have a text telephone line available for women to text and receive that support when they're unable to pick up the phone and actually call. So our text support line is 226-974-0755, and that's available 24/7, as well as our crisis telephone line. So when you call into our crisis telephone line, you will be connected to a crisis support worker who will help you in that moment. And our crisis line is 519-371-1600, or toll free at 1-800-265-3722. So that's, sometimes that's the first point of contact for women to have is to reach out via telephone or via text, and just know that's available 24/7, and they can reach out that way anytime. So those are a few of the programs, those emergency supports, and available throughout this crazy pandemic that we're in.
I know that there is a concern in the community more and more about potential for violence, because people are not allowed to be, they're not able to be out and about to have space the way that they would be. How are you for your resources if there's potentially an increased demand? And are you finding this is your opportunity to ask if you need donations or help or anything? So what can the community do to help you?
Yes, of course, we're always looking for donations to support women, especially in times of COVID when even physical distancing is creating a little bit of a shift in the way we do things, making sure we're all covered up and we're following public health and ministry guidelines in terms of visitors and things like that into our community. So we do rely on a lot of donations from the community, things like Rogers have donated phones for women to use if they have to flee, as well as just the community sending out donations for the women in our shelters and towards some of our programs. We have we do allow the pet-friendly rooms in our shelter as well. So we've had donations around, supporting that from our local community partners as well. And we really do appreciate anything that the community can do to help us.
Excellent. Now you have an event coming up, International Women's Day. Can you tell me a little bit about the event, when it is, and if people want to attend, how they can do that in COVID-19 days?
Perfect. As with everything these days, what used to be an in-person event is going digital and virtual. And I think we're learning that's kind of the new norm for everything. So International Women's Day is being held on March 8th. So we are doing a virtual celebration starting at 8 a.m. We have brought together a keynote speaker, Ashley Whedon, who will be speaking about some of the social, economical, cultural, and political successes of women, especially women in rural communities such as Grey Bruce. We also have a ton of other guest speakers and activities planned, like yoga, chatting with some of our local resources and community partners, like our local OPP, the Georgian Bay Garden Club, and learning more about some of the programs that are available to women, not only from our own organization, but organizations across Grey Bruce that are supporting women and those experiencing violence.
So I've had the pleasure of attending in person before, and I recall there would be auction of items. You would go in and have a breakfast. There'd be speakers. You'd network. So take me through how you have it planned for this, and also how people can register, what's the cost, that sort of thing. So take me through the day.
Perfect. Yeah. So tickets are $20, and you can head to our online to womencenter.org /IWD for International Women's Day. You can find that online on our website to register. And as part of that day, on top of the many different activities and our guest speaker, we also do have an online auction for people to help support us. And we've received a lot of donations from local businesses in our community that have donated, and we have some great auction items that will be done virtually as a virtual auction. So those items will be able to be viewed online starting February 27th, and the auction remains open until March 8th. Like I said, you could head to our website at thewomencenter.org to learn more about how that auction will work.
Excellent. So when people register, there's the option as well to donate to the Women's Center, right? It's like the $20 is to participate, but you have the opportunity to also donate as well. So how does the speaker get chosen? Who organizes this? I mean, is there a working group that does it? And how do you pick the speakers that attend? You have at the International Women's Day event?
So we actually have Carrie, who works here at the Women's Center, is our coordinator for that and has done amazing work in setting up a lot of our events. When we're looking for speakers, we're looking for those that embody, feminism and the ways that we can support women in our community. So we're really looking for that empowerment piece for women, and trying to provide a speaker that will bring forth an empowerment for women, and to support them as they move through life, and move through, especially these times right now, in again, the COVID, where everything seems to be kind of up in the air.
Very much so, and maybe for a while longer too, for sure. So Ashley will be discussing about the impact of certainly COVID-19 on both the rural population, and particularly women, and also about equality of service and access to service. So the Women's Center serves Grey Bruce, correct?
Yes, yeah.
So you take referrals throughout Grey Bruce. How does a person get referred to the services? Let's say someone needed help, but they didn't necessarily want to come to the center or stay in the shelter. They would still be able to be linked, correct, to services that are out there?
Yeah, exactly. Even through our telephone line and crisis lines, we also provide some counseling support as well. So perhaps they're just looking for someone to talk to, and to help them maybe even begin to think about a safety plan. So being able to reach out in those ways is important, but also through their community partners. Perhaps they've come across additional organizations, and they've identified that they need more support from maybe not our shelter, but maybe it's a court support. So we also have court support workers that will help them work through the family court support system, or maybe just some additional family support they're looking for. So when they do call, we can connect them to different types of services. It's not necessarily our shelter, but it could be helping them find housing through the second stage housing program. And that court support and family support is also something that we can provide. But really, a lot of times it is reaching out and talking to someone and understanding that there is help available. And no matter what you do when you call into our crisis line, we will help connect you to those services that you're looking for.
So sometimes you may have mothers or fathers who are concerned about what perhaps their daughters are experiencing in relationships, or who do they call? Can they also call the Women's Center and say, I'm concerned for my daughter, I think she's in trouble, what can I do to help? Because sometimes it's the neighbors, the family around the women who also want to support them, but just aren't sure what to do. The woman may or may not reach out directly, but others are concerned because we are a community that want to support, right? What would you say to those who might be listening who have those concerns, but they're not the one directly experiencing intimate violence?
I think that's a great question, Carol. Thank you for asking that, because many times there are neighbors, family members who maybe recognize that there is something going on, and this woman may need some additional support. So, and if you don't have the ability to get them to reach out directly to our services, to do it yourself, to call in. And find out ways that you as a neighbor or you as a family member could support that woman, and our workers will help you to do that.
Yeah, because it can be difficult for people who want to help, don't want to say the wrong thing, don't want to make it worse for the woman, but yet they want to know what to do. And so what you're saying is the Women's Center can provide that information, or just to talk to them about the situation in case there is something they can do that would work for them.
Right. And I think it just, it arms everyone with that information. So if you know where to direct someone to, when you do see that someone maybe needs that additional support, you'll be armed with that information and help them navigate the services that are available in our community.
So when someone has accessed your service, and from what I've heard and certainly learned, sometimes it can be a little bit of a cycle where women will go back and forth sometimes. Is there a one-time visit allowed, or do you accept women even no matter how many times if they're in crisis? In other words, if they decide to go back and then they need help again, do you also, can they come back?
Yeah, I think it's super important to recognize that there's always something that can be done within our community to help women, and we're going to try our best to find those services for you. So when you do come into the shelter, you may be there for a shorter stay, you might be a little bit longer, but we're going to help you move forward and create a better future for yourself by connecting you to those organizations, whether it's housing, support financially to help you navigate some of those additional systems that you see, help finding mental health supports and things like that. So I do think it's important that they stay connected. And when they do receive services from us, that they know they can call back and we will support them. And if we don't have those services available, we are going to help them find that within our community.
Excellent. So it really is a network of support. It's not just one time. It's offered over time for people to access, which I think is really critical. So I know we're talking back and forth about the Women's Center and International Women's Day, but to me, it's all part of the bigger picture of education and information. Now, when I attended, there were men there. So let's talk about the role of men in learning. And, this isn't just for women, the International Women's Day, right?
Right. I think it's important for everyone to understand those issues that women face, men, women, everyone in our community. I think sometimes it's that thing that doesn't get talked about, that we kind of shy away from. And the more we talk about it and the more that we, like I said, arm ourselves with that information in terms of who we can call for support and what we can do if we recognize that there may be an issue. I think that's important for everyone in our community to understand and to learn from. So we recognize that when we're celebrating International Women's Day, that when we have men celebrating that with us, that just makes us stronger, and that we can work together to really bring down some of those barriers that women are facing and some of those things that maybe we don't talk about. And it's important for everyone to know that.
Yeah. I think that's important. That is, although it's International Women's Day, registration is open to everyone. So, yeah. So when the event happens, there will be the keynote speaker, and that's going to be Ashley Whedon. But you mentioned there are other potential speakers, or will it be in separate chat rooms or Zoom rooms that people will go to about topics, or will it be one after the other, just a general presentation? I'm asking for the sneak preview here.
Yeah. So I believe there's some separate rooms available. So when you do get connected, that we will have different opportunities to check in with different kind of topics and speakers while we're waiting until the guest speaker, Ashley Whedon, does her presentation.
Excellent. So there's options for choice. If you have something that's particularly interesting to you, or you want to learn more, you do have the options then of going into the other chat rooms, as well. Yeah.
Yes, I again, the tech side of it, I'm not well versed in how that's going to look. Our coordinator who's setting it up, Carrie, would have more information around that. But ideally, we're all going to get connected again when our guest speaker, our keynote speaker, is on, and that we'll all be able to see that presentation.
Certainly in this new COVID-19 world of Zoom and video chats, we're gradually evolving into video conference type of people. So I'm sure it'll be an interesting day. So the community has been supportive of this event. There are sponsors, I believe, are there not?
Yes, we've been so lucky, and we're so gracious to our community for being able to sponsor some of our events, and especially our International Women's Day. So, like I said, we have people that have donated money, people that have donated auction prizes. We have NPX Innovation and Tetra Tech, who are big sponsors for this event. And we know that this year has been hard on some people and some businesses. So for them to be able to share that with us is we're truly grateful, and recognize that their support has been instrumental in helping us put this event on.
What have you heard from previous events what's the feedback that you get from either the presenters or those who've attended? What sorts of feedback do you receive?
I think when we do events, that we really want to make sure that the people attending them come away with something. So maybe that's coming away with a feeling of understanding, or a feeling of just knowing more about some of those issues that women face. I think when you do come to an event like this and you hear a speaker, when you come away with information that is just going to drive you and move you forward in how your outlook is, I think that's important. And so I hope that when people come to this event, they come away learning more about not only the services that we have in our community, but recognizing that there are barriers that women face, especially women in rural communities, and finding unique and innovative ways to overcome that, and to understand that we're all in this together, and as a community we can help each other.
One of the things I appreciated from the opportunity to attend previously, there were a couple of things. It was a lovely breakfast, but also, more importantly for me, it was networking. It was being able to meet people I may not have had the chance to network with in the past. And to me, that was a really good opportunity to find out who was out there and to put a face to a name that someone I may have read about or seen a news article, but to be able to connect with, I think is one of those lovely experiences you wouldn't have normally. So hopefully there'll be an opportunity to do that with this one, even if it's by the chat box.
Right. I don't know all the tech, how that's going to look on the day, but I'm sure there's some ways that we can all connect at some point. And even if it is just being connected to those people that are presenting and learning more from them. Like I said, there's the OPP is going to be talking, Georgian Bay Garden Club, Welcome Communities. So we will have some opportunities to network that way, and hopefully there'll be additional ways such as the chat function and things like that as well.
Yeah. Excellent. So it starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, bright and early.
Yeah.
How long does it go on that day?
I believe that it really is only going to be a short time in the morning, but our auction, I know, does go until 4 p.m. that day. So you do have the opportunity to look at our auction items and to put some bids on some of those really neat prizes that we have that our community has donated until 4 p.m. on March 8th.
And the funds raised through the auction, then where does that go?
So those funds will be going back to support some of the programs that we have. I didn't get to mention at the beginning, we also have a new anti-human trafficking program. It's a live-in treatment for youth who have needed supports for anti-human trafficking. That's a new program that will be coming out in April. But there's additional supports in terms of our shelter program and crisis lines and text lines that those donations will definitely go to support women in our community.
Excellent. So it comes from the community back into the community. And I did not know about the new program. So I'm glad you mentioned that, actually, because we need to be aware that that's an issue and that there is a service available as well. So the auction comes up ahead of time before you even attend the conference. So you got time to really browse and look around, and then to make the bid as well. From your perspective, what haven't I asked you that you'd like to share with the community?
Yeah, I think it's really important for women to know that despite everything and the closures going on, that there is support available for you out there. So call, text, reach out, and we will help you with finding those services.
So if you want information, if you're struggling, just to reach out, that's the primary message. And once you've reached out, then options will be given to you and followed up. Do your workers follow up, or is it more just a one-time information?
Yeah, it really is dependent on the woman and her needs. We do have transitional and outreach workers that follow up, and our VAW crisis workers as well.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. I must say congratulations on planning this event, even in the middle of COVID-19. We hear about businesses having to pivot, but really you've had to pivot to offer this online, and I commend you and all of the organizers for doing this, because it's important, but it also is creative in how you're going to be doing it. So thank you, and thank you for being on the program. I've really appreciated the chance to chat with you.
And thank you, Carol. Thank you for showcasing the needs that we have in our community and our services as well.
My pleasure. You take care. And thank you to our viewing audience for joining us today. Please join us again to learn more about resources, programs, and services available to you and to your family. Take care. Stay safe. Thank you.
Call the Rogers TV Viewer Response Line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Don't forget to join us on Great County Life at Home next week.
We're going to talk to Emily Jolie from the Billy Bishop Home and Museum.
It's closing time, and you stayed out longer than you planned. So now you can't drive, and the buses have stopped running. You could always call your girlfriend